Have a great day.
Jan, I met with Amy last
Did you?
week.
Good.
It was good. So we went over a lot of details that she wasn't aware of and that she could pass along to her staff.
Some of the things that you were telling me.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I think it would be quite beneficial moving forward.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, I'm going to flip the switch. And we will call to order the Belmont Tourism Development Authority meeting for May 8th, 2019. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll introduce Heidi in just a few minutes, later in the agenda. I would like to add an item to the agenda, a report on the Crappie USA tournament that was held March 1st and 2nd, which we provided a grant for, and so I do have a report from that actually came via the Gaston County Tourism Authority. So I'd like to add that. I guess that'll be number 3 on the business items. You have the minutes for the previous meeting before you. I see you're reviewing those. Do we need a couple more minutes to review those?
No.
If there's no changes, I'll accept a motion to approve. Well, I guess we need to approve the agenda first. Let's approve the agenda, so I could have a motion. As amended.
I move we approve the agenda.
Motion and a second. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, if we could approve the minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes? Come on.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I second
and a
Ann's
second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. As promised, if I can locate it, I did prepare a draft of the 2019-2020 budget. Shelley, I'll hand this to you. Apologize for not getting this to you in advance, but I did it yesterday. So, and we don't need to approve this today at all. This budget is good, July 1 through June 30. So, my hope would be that you would give me some input on it today. I would go back and make those revisions, and then we would approve it at our June meeting. And so, and I'll just kind of walk you through this. The revenue, occupancy tax. What I did was we have a record of the occupancy tax that we received through March. That was a 3.7% increase over the same period the year before. So I took that 3.7% and I increased the revenue that we collected in April, May, and June of 2018, and I increased that by about 3.7% to come up with $110,000. So this represents a revenue budget, about 3% over this current fiscal year. And I was talking a little bit with Ashley before the meeting. I don't know if that's reasonable or not to expect flat, or if we need to project down. So I would look for your input on that.
I mean, I really think we should probably project down some, just because of the other hotel in Gastonia opening up. I know that we have one here, Home 2 will be opening up, but that's not going to be till the end of 2020, so I don't know if we should project quite that high, but...
Okay. And so maybe 100,000 might be a more reasonable
yeah,
projection.
We can try that.
Of course, we do have some $70,000 in our fund balance, so if we miss this by a little bit, we do have budget to cover it, and then of course the board can amend this budget, our expenditures at any time, and we'll get into those in just a minute.
Okay.
There's very little that we're committed to. We don't have a staff, we don't have an office, we don't have bills we have to pay. There's always adjustments that we can make during the course of the year. But if the board agrees, I will adjust that down to $100,000. So, and if you would bear with me, well, no, I'll go ahead and review. I put other under revenue. We've talked a little bit about, or quite a bit about, the signature event that I hope to produce in conjunction with the city and the garden. Phil and I met with Michael Applegate Monday morning to talk to him and asked him, presented the Belmont Balloons concept to him. He loved that concept. We asked him to do three things. One, participate in some aspect of this event, of this multi-week event, as a business in Belmont, that's located in Belmont, to give us feedback about whether we should apply for a grant through their grant program, which is active now. You're supposed to apply for those grants by, I think, June 1st, and they're awarded in August. They have a grants committee that will review those. And then I asked him to support the event through his own promotional efforts. And I've worked with Michael at the garden, and he's done a number of things to help the garden. He's placed advertising in AAA's magazines in both the Carolinas and Georgia. He's done in-flight magazines with the small airport, small airline in Concord, Ultimate Air. He's placed advertising in Outdoor magazine and a number of other things that we're not really targeting at this point. We've really kind of pulled our promotional efforts into the greater Charlotte area. And so when I asked him to do those things, he didn't really know what they could do as an organization, but is willing to consider doing something as part of the event. Suggested that he may be able to support us more through those promotional efforts than by our applying for a grant, which is not to say we shouldn't apply for a grant. Since it's a new concept, it does make it something that he believes the board would likely support. But they're probably not going to let him double dip. If we get a $5,000 grant, he's probably not going to be able to do as much promotion. What he suggested is that if we were willing to commit, if we're investing, say, $10,000, at least $10,000 in marketing, he could probably give us about $10,000 in in-kind marketing. And so I don't know that a grant is the way to go there. I think that's a very attractive offer. I think he will support it. And I do, down here in the expenses, have $10,000 in promotion for that event. So the other ways that I think that we can come up with some revenue, I'm hoping that somebody will do grab onto a 5K or something to that effect that would generate some revenue. I don't know who that organization is at this point. And it might even be something kind of wacky. I saw something on the internet the other day. There was a half K somewhere where you got a donut and a cup of coffee to start.
Nice.
And you got a hot dog or something to finish, and there was places where you could sit along the half a kilometer route, and you could sit around and talk and listen to music. There was a band.
I like that.
So, so maybe it's something that really goes along with our theme that's a little bit different than a 5K. Because that was one of the things that I suggested that might be able to do. And he's like, no, there's 1,000 5Ks. So, wasn't really interested in that. But if we came up with something really creative, it might be something that we could raise some funds on. You haven't missed a meeting yet?
You missed the dress code, but you didn't miss it.
Welcome, Richard.
I took today off to grab some stuff up.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So,
We'll add you to the list.
provide him with a draft of the budget, too. Some of the other thoughts that I had at our last meeting, Ryan had suggested, if we want to try to get people to do more plantings and that sort of thing for Belmont Balloons, we need to provide some information. He said, I don't know the first thing about planting bulbs, so how do we get that information out? One of the things that I'm going to do at the garden is a bulb sale, and you do that, you want to plant bulbs in November, December for spring blooming. So I'm going to do a bulb sale at the garden to earn revenue through the garden store. I'll do it through my retail operation. And you do it through an order form, and then people come and they pick up their bulbs. You do orders in September and October, and then they come pick up their packages in November, and they take them home and plant them. So I'm wondering if we can do something through the business community where maybe there's an organization, maybe a Rotary type organization that would help us get the word out and distribute these forms, and you pay $20 or $25, and then you get a bag that includes plantings for a 1 square yard with instructions on how to plant those. And maybe we earn revenue like that. So there's ideas within this signature event that I think can show us some revenue. And the good thing about that is that we could make a decision as a board to adjust our expenditures based on how much money we expect to raise. I put $30,000 in there to really balance the budget. I don't know that we could do that. And even though Mike suggested that we probably don't, that he can support us more without a grant, that's not the only place we could get a grant. We could actually go get a grant to do other things. And I think there's, I'm not really in a position to seek sponsors or do fundraising because of my position at the garden. I don't want people to construe my raising money for the garden when it's really for the Tourism Development Authority. But I think this is a sponsorable event. And so if I could find somebody that had fundraising experience that was willing to do that, I think there is a way we can get grants and other sponsorships for the event. So while I don't know that we would ever raise $30,000 first year, I don't think it's totally unreasonable either. I think there's enough ideas out there that we could raise some money. And there's other ways that we may adjust that as well. I was thinking, I told Malia I was going to take this idea from my own, but this was Malia's idea. Can we set something up in front of the webcam where we have oversized orchids or oversized tulips that are an exhibit that sets up a selfie station or a backdrop for the webcam? So can we find a company that is capable of producing exhibit type things, or can we go to Walter Payne and see if he'll help us with printing, and then this company that we go to then becomes a sponsor of this exhibit. So lots of ideas that I'm going to try to work out there. So just to give you an idea that I didn't just throw $30,000 down there to balance the budget, I do think there's some ideas out there where we can generate some money and make adjustments as we need to. Everybody comfortable with that? Comments?
Jim, remind us again the time period for the event.
So, don't remember, I picked a week in March. It's like it's probably like the third week in March to the second week in April is the time frame for the event. And I can get that back out. And next month, I was planning on doing a more full report on where we are. Phil has told me he's trying to get his head above water. He's got these monitors, project almost done, so his schedule's getting better. So we will be a little bit more active and try to put together a more definitive committee before our next meeting. So, and I will give you a list of the things that I think we can earnestly do at our next meeting.
I'll bring it up, Belmont Rotary Club.
And I'd love to, speak to the Belmont Rotary Club. And I think the glory of this is that if there's something else that the Belmont Rotary Club says, hey, that's a great idea, we'd love to do that, we have the people that would be interested, all for that. So. So I just need to find people to do it. And we've had a couple of people commit. We had somebody that from Keep Belmont Beautiful maybe that was interested in doing, and I still don't have that person's name and contact information, that was interested in doing a tour of homes, a parade of homes. And that's really just a printed guide, so, and putting it together. It would take some effort to figure out where these.
Belmont Historic Foundation?
Maybe it was,
I think it's the
maybe it
Belmont
was.
Historic Foundation typically puts on the historic
Yeah.
home tour.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
okay, so I can get you in contact with the Hossteppers.
Who was it?
Jim Hostetler?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I had it written down at the office.
David, I'm sorry, David.
David
yes.
Hostetler.
David, thank you. Wendy, right? Wendy?
So we have had some interest in doing some things like that don't cost a lot of money. But I did include some seed money that kind of balances out that $30,000 in revenue. So we would just have to make, and obviously approve as a board, any adjustments to that. Any other questions about revenue?
No.
Or suggestions about how I may adjust that? Okay. We will move on to expenses. I think the administrative fees there are pretty ordinary and customary. We pay for our liability insurance through the North Carolina League of Municipalities, so we have to be a member of the North Carolina League of Municipalities in order to get their insurance, their liability insurance. I think Shelley, I think you'd looked into whether we get less expensive insurance, but if you buy private insurance, it's more expensive. I don't think there's any adjustment.
I've actually haven't looked into that.
Somebody has.
Probably Deborah with the city,
Yeah.
that or Michelle.
Yeah, so I think that's a fairly reasonable approach. Staff reimbursement is something in the North Carolina statute that permits the city to withhold some fees to take care of Shelley's time and the other members of the staff, and I don't know that they've ever done it. And should I just take it out?
Well, let's leave it in just so
Just in case.
they can refuse it.
All right, we'll do
City
that.
manager.
We'll
There
do
you
that.
go.
We have had, we're required to do an audit, and I believe that fee has been $3,000.
Yes.
Pretty consistently. We have generally spent some postage to do some things, and I would like to do some more things in the coming year where we send letters to the business, people in the business community or people that we're trying to help, to let them know that we're trying to do some things to promote their business. We did do some of that this past year. And then we are a member of Visit Charlotte, the Partners in Tourism, and we pay that $650 fee to be a partner. And then we're allowed to list things on their website. If anybody would like to, I mean, you guys could go to their networking things without being a member yourselves. If you ever wanted to do that, I can get you on the list.
Okay, please do.
Okay. Both of you on the list? And they've occasionally done events out in the garden as well, so from my experience at the garden, it is worth $650 just to be on their website. I mean, I get a tremendous response out of doing partnerships with them. So I think, I don't know if you have any questions about the administrative fees, administrative expenses. I put $10,000 in the grants program. This is one area that members of the board may want to do a little bit more. We've already committed to $3,500 for the Main Street program for the sponsorship of the concerts. We've talked about continuing our sponsorship of the webcam, and again, we're going to have another presentation for a grant proposal. I don't know if the board desires that expense to be higher or not. You can think about that and let me know unless you have a response now.
I don't have one.
Let me know. Down in marketing, I tried to be pretty specific about where we are spending our money for marketing purposes. We do have a contract with a Lyerly agency that goes through the next fiscal year. That includes the $52,800 for their professional services, maintenance of our website, media relations, and those sorts of things. Just our SEM to promote both Belmont in general throughout the year and the events that we hold throughout the year. So they'll add search terms to our Google AdWords at specific times during the year to promote those specific events, and that comes to $20,000. We're investing $6,000 $6,600 to promote weddings through search engine marketing. And then
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
So this, the search engine for, just the search engine and then the search engine for the weddings, those are given to the Lowry agency for them to determine, or does it go to someone else?
It goes to someone else.
Okay,
But
and
they
who is-
manage it for us.
Oh, okay, and who is that person? Who does
Can't
that?
recall. I can't remember the name of the company.
Oh, okay, okay.
I can get that for you.
So we pay them 20 plus 6,600?
Correct.
I would just be curious as to how that's determined and the dates that they, choose to do that and how it benefits us.
So that's.
And what's come from it thus far?
So
Is that contracted as well? Is that
that's
just?
contracted, but I don't know that it's contracted now. I don't know if we have a contract that says we will spend this much money over 12 months. So I don't know that. But they do specifically report on the search engine marketing when they present their report. And so,
I would just think that we should be involved in that.
in
Somehow.
providing,
Dates, particular times, period. I'd just like to see
what they're
the
saying.
history and, what is coming, the click-throughs that have come through that.
they do provide that. Yeah, they do.
She did go over that the last time, but just as to how that's set up and who does that for us.
Okay, I can get that information for you. To provide you detail beyond that, I would ask when Leah to do that.
Okay.
As opposed to my trying to do that. We are, I do encourage members of the board to suggest other search terms. They have been pretty specific about some of the SEM that they've done to promote the specific events like the Halloween events that we had, holidays at the Garden. There are very specific, not holidays at the Garden, holidays in Belmont, very specifically where they have increased the amount of money that we've invested there. So there's a baseline that's, I don't know what that number is. There's a baseline that's $500 per month that they increase when they're promoting events. But I can get a little bit more detail on it. And I do encourage you, while Malia is here, or if you'd like to speak with her on the phone, I'm sure she'd be glad to do that.
Sure, okay.
So. Any other questions about SEM? So then I have proposed $16,000 in other advertising. This would include $8,000 for the signature event, and then about $8,000 for the other events that would include holidays, the Friday Night Live series, and the Halloween event.
And the signature event being the Belmont Blooms?
Correct. Correct.
So it would technically be 38,000. Oh, excuse me, the revenue, but the cost would be
No.
8.
Well, this is within our, we could probably, correct, no, that would be in the $30,000. We would need that $30,000, or at least some of that, to do this advertising. You were correct.
Okay.
And then printing, we already have committed to doing these rack cards for the specific events 5 times a year, kind of seasonally, and that's $3,400. But I put $5,000 in printing because I'm sure we're going to come up with something else that we want to print, and then also included an additional $1,500 in graphic design. That's not committed anywhere else, but we would have $1,500 if we needed some other piece design. So. And then, the seed money for Belmont Blooms, that's doing things like this exhibit in front of the webcam. That would do things like that, and maybe some other signage. If there's an organization inclined to do that for us at no charge or at a very little charge. And I told Malia that. I did talk to her about about some various other things and about adding some of these advertising dollars. They have proposed in their contract a portion of other advertising and so forth, but I have increased the amounts that they have in their contract.
Okay, so that includes the line.
Yes, yes, it does. It would be great if we could find a way to do a billboard.
I was thinking that.
I know Carrie would be willing to help us get, some time on the Far Yarns billboard. But wouldn't it be great if we could, get another one on down closer to Charlotte and north a little bit. It's pretty costly, but we might be able to have those conversations.
Could we get for the budget, their contract allowed the agencies so that we know if we're not having to cover costs that are already included in what she normally takes care of? And just to make sure we know where the SEM for both, just the regular SEM and SEM weddings is going to.
I will provide that to you. Give you information. The one other thing, Shelley, that I did talk to Malia about doing is a splash page. So I bought the URLs that I own, or the garden owns, for BelmontBlues.org and a couple others. And I'll own those and pay for them until the city, whoever the tourism authority wants to buy them. That's not all I'm paying for them out of my garden budget. I suggested that we do a splash page leading up to the event, but not to do a full website. But the splash page you would go to if you typed in the URL Belmont Blues, you would go to the splash page, but then it is really just a cover over our website. So, and that's a fairly nominal cost. That'd be a few $100 for them to do that. So,
Joe, would you anticipate doing some other types of advertising other than social media and,
yeah, I'd love to do a billboard. I'd love to see them. I don't know, this kind of budget's not going to get as much TV, but I would like to see if we get a radio partner.
our state? That probably won't get our state email.
They probably won't get us our state. They may get us our state email, our state e-blast. May do something like that. And they do some partnership sorts of things where they come for the events. So that may be a possibility. It isn't our state event. It is an event that would fit their publication very, very well. So
Maybe we can pitch a feature article or something. And see if we can get something. Don't have to pay a lot for it.
I would hope so. But they may be willing to partner with us in some fashion. You encouraged me to look into radio, and I think this is because it's an extended period of time. I think the value of radio may be there, maybe cable television. So I just don't know that we could do that this first year, but we'll see.
Jim, when is the appropriate time for me to talk about the webcam and in terms of next year? Because I did intend to come back and ask about the tourism board sponsoring the webcam over the period of the next fiscal year. And I have been able to secure a commitment from EarthCam to add the tourism logo to the EarthCam page.
Okay.
Which last year, as I recall, got 1.1 million views. And over the course of the 4 or 5 years that we've been doing the webcam, almost 5 million views.
Right.
But that will be contingent on Belmont Tourism being a sponsor of the
Sure.
webcam. So I would like to, I'd like to request a $3,600, I guess you put that under grants.
Yeah.
Is this the appropriate time, or would next month? be the
I think you
appropriate
make a
time?
formal proposal to us. I think you rewrite your grant, just reissue that proposal that you wrote before.
At the next board meeting would be
Yeah, I think that'd be very appropriate. and we can go ahead and plan on including that on the agenda, if you would, Shelley.
Okay.
If it's okay with you guys, I'd like to go ahead and send them the tourism logo and a couple of sentences that can go on that EarthCam page. I mean, you're sponsors of the webcam through.
Currently, right.
So we
Sure.
can go ahead and start taking advantage of that. If
That'd
it's
be great.
okay with everybody, I didn't want to just take it upon myself to.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. But it doesn't cost anything, and it might get us some good traffic to the
Sure.
website.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
Any other questions or comments? How I may, and Richard, I don't know if you were here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make adjustments as requested by the board here, or if you want to send me an email or call me later about some other thoughts, I'm going to revise this budget, and I'm going to bring it back to our next meeting for approval.
Okay.
So,
One thing I was curious about, looking at the Lyerly agency cost, I remember us talking, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but what do we get from them hourly as far as their labor, as far as what they do? Was it not like 7 hours a month or something like that?
I don't know that they put hours on it.
Pretty sure they did.
I think they gave us of what their average was then. I can find out
Okay.
how many hours they're spending a week.
And I'd like to see if the needle had moved on that at all, or if we're still at that.
Okay. Okay.
And sorry, I had to step out for a minute with the city manager and the mayor for a quick talk.
Anything else anybody else would like to see? And I can answer these questions through an email.
We're still waiting on Belmont Trolley to get back to us with some numbers.
So, yeah, we are. So the city has given some support, is that correct? Or
Not yet. We're still waiting to hear the numbers from Rob Presley. I mean, we have some loose numbers, I think.
I think they threw out some loose numbers, but,
Yeah.
and how they thought they could achieve their project, but I do not believe he said he'd come back with more firm numbers.
Okay, so I guess we're in the same position. We're waiting.
I think if Belmont Trolley needed us to make a commitment for this coming fiscal year, it would have to come out of our fund balance.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that that's unreasonable. I also don't know that they need us to do that. They may be perfectly willing to wait until Home 2 opens before we have to make a payment to them, or theoretically if this board approves. So, I think what they were probably going to be looking for is, I don't know, a couple $100,000 over 3 to 5 years. I think they're going to need, I've heard anything from $500,000 to $600,000 is what they're looking for public support on.
Yeah.
And they're looking for public support from us, from the city, and from the Gaston County Tourism Authority. They made a presentation to Gaston County Tourism Authority, the same presentation that they made here, and I think there was generally good support of it. The issue with that board is it's an advisory board. The county commissioners really have to approve that kind of expenditure. I think we can support, it seems like this board is in support of the Belmont Trolley. We will obviously vote on anything that we do, but I think next year if we wanted to do something, it would have to come out of our fund balance. So,
Okay.
glad to include it in the budget, but I did put Belmont Trolley below the line there. So,
Let's put a little question mark by that.
when Home 2 opens, that changes things a little bit. If it's going to generate, $40,000 or $50,000 in revenue for us, or whatever kind of revenue it might generate, it's going to generate an equal amount of revenue for the County Tourism Authority. So I think it's reasonable for the Belmont Trolley to go ask for something at that level from the County Tourism Authority. So we'll see how it plays out. Thank you for bearing with me. If you want to see anything else, please let me know. Give me a call or shoot me an email, and we'll get this back to you. I'll try to do it within the next 2 weeks, so you have a full 2 weeks to kind of digest it. And I'll write down that I just committed to 2 weeks.
And it's recorded.
We have in your packet a grant application. Let's get the financial report. Let's go ahead and do the grant application and then we'll do the financial report later. So this is at the end of your packet, next to the last page, and Heidi is here. And if the board would like to encourage her to speak, would you like to do that?
Sure.
All right.
That's what I'm here for.
Great. So we'd be glad to hear from you, Heidi.
All right, so a little bit of a background about myself. I know some of you know me, so my name is Heidi Schmidt. I work for Duke Energy full-time as an engineer. That's my bill-paying job. Anchored Soul is a company that I started up on the side 4 years ago, but my passion for stand-up paddleboarding began 10 years ago. And I began racing all around the country, and then when I started up Anchored Soul, I figured it would be a great company to give back to the community, especially with the youth and, bullies and all of that, and the suicide rate being so high, especially around here. So I work with Boys and Girls Club, and I volunteer my time and equipment in teaching some of their kids to stand up paddleboard. I just got connected with a organization who works with kids who are battered and abused, so I'll be working with it this summer as well. Anchored Soul, I'm a certified stand-up paddleboard instructor. I got certified 5 years ago in Asheville with the American Canoe Association, and I have liability insurance and everything with the company, and I have a trailer that houses all of my boards, and I get people out and I teach lessons. I do rentals, I do events, birthday celebrations. I do local events where we'll do, it's called Sup to Spirits, where I also try to promote the local businesses. We'll go out stand-up paddleboarding for 2 hours, come back to land, and then we go to a local business for food and beverages. If we go to Cramerton, we don't have to drive to that location because the food and beverages are right there next to South Fork River. If we're doing it in Belmont, though, we typically have to, drive to either station or a couple of other restaurants that we like to go to. So I like to try and help out the local businesses, bringing, crowds to them through Anchored Soul. But that's background about me. One of the things that was a part of my 5-year plan, since I do race all over the country, is I really, really wanted to bring a race to Belmont, to Lake Wiley, because it is home, and I really just thought it would be amazing to be able to share where I live with everyone that I race with in that big community. So with it being 4-year mark of Anchored Soul, I decided why not do it this year. So August 24th is the date of the race. The race is called Bon Temps Paddle Battle in Wiley. I'm originally from New Orleans, so that name actually comes from, Laissez le Bon Temps Roulette. Bon Temps stands for good times. This will be a good times paddle battle. I wanted to incorporate other people who are not paddlers and who are not comfortable going out to an event that they're not used to. So that's why I brought in the live concert aspect of it, is because I figure people are likely to come to an event where there's music, but less likely to come to an event to spectate if they have no idea what paddling is about or what a race is about. So we've got the live concert, plus we've got all of several local businesses that are going to be coming out to serve either their cider, their beer, their wine, their food. I tried to open it up and get sponsors from local businesses, which we did very well on so far. I got a total of 19 sponsors. We've raised $4,800 so far. My goal in sponsors that I set for myself was actually pretty high. It's at $8,000, so I'm a little bit more than halfway there, but I'm not done trying yet. So the event will start. The Racers Packet Pickup Party is Friday night, the 23rd, at Seven Oaks Cafe. So it brings in good, advertising about Seven Oaks Cafe. McLean and Chad with Seven Oaks have volunteered their facility for using the Packet Pickup Party. This race is a part of the Southeastern Paddle Series, which opens it up to all of the racers. I'll give you a little bit of background on that. If you race in a race, you're trying to place first, second, or third. If you also are a racer in a series, you're not only going to potentially win a race, but you can potentially win a series. So that's an additional award that you can get throughout the race season. So the Southeastern Paddle Series, by getting this race as a part of that, anyone who races with this series and is trying to win the award with the series, they're likely to come out to this race. So when I factored in the total expected numbers of racers that are going to come and register for this, I looked at other local races that I do, looked at their numbers, and I also, to figure out how many out-of-towners would be here, I took about 25% of those who race in the Southeastern Paddle Series. So in the application, when I put the guesstimate of how many out-of-town racers we would have, that's based on 25% of those who are in the Southeastern Paddle Series. It is a very low estimate. If anything, the number of out-of-towners will go up. The number of hotel nights was kind of a rough one for me to judge because a lot of your racers, paddlers, they love nature, so they will find campgrounds and pitch a tent. Some of them, they do the hotels, so that one's kind of a, you know, I tried to come up with the best number as I could, but that one, I don't know if I can place any emphasis on that. So we'll start the event Friday night with a packet pickup party. I got the local beer distributor, Standard Distribution, to donate all of the Abita beer for the event, which is a local, it's a New Orleans beer, so it ties into the New Orleans theme. And then Saturday morning, there will be all beer sales from local breweries, local wineries, and then the food sales from local restaurants. And they'll check in at 7 a.m. The race will begin at 9 a.m. There's a safety talk prior to. They have their requirements for every race where they have to have certain you have to meet the safety requirements for your board. And they all sign their release of liability when they register for the event as well. From 12 to 3, there will be the concert, and from 3 to 4, there will be the award ceremony. Beer will not be served starting until 12 o'clock because I want to make sure that those who are on the water are not drinking prior to getting on the water. So that is a definite there. That may upset some of the spectators because I'm sure they're going to want to have a beverage prior to 12 o'clock. So we've got the 4 nonprofits that are receiving all of the proceeds from this event. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Gaston, the Tri-County Animal Rescue, Gastonia J.C.'s, and Catawba Riverkeeper. Now, one of the things that I really like, if we are providing funds to a nonprofit, is to have that nonprofit participate in one way or another. Boys and Girls Club, they will be participating in that their drum line will be coming out and doing a performance during the break of the band. They are also talking about helping out with the national anthem prior to the race. I'm also going to have some of those kids in the Guppies race because of teaching them to stand up paddleboard, they'll be able to actually participate in the race for their first time and see how that feels. Gastonia JCs are going to be volunteering for a bunch of the responsibilities that I need throughout the day of the event, as well as the Friday night before. So the Gastonia JCs are, you know, they're getting they're getting the proceeds, but they're also helping out. Catawba Riverkeeper is volunteering a boat on the water, and I've also met with the director of Catawba Riverkeeper. The Sunday prior to the event, we are setting up a river cleanup so that we can get out there and clean up the water's edge the Sunday before the event, make it look real nice. And then of course we will clean up after the event is over. And then the Tri-County Animal Rescue, they're going to be bringing out some of their animals that, just a few of them, the ones that need to be adopted, so that's going to be their participation. And then so as far as y'all's question on being dependent on the grant, we're not dependent on the grant. Honestly, when I came up with this idea of doing this race, I didn't even know that we had grants out there to apply for. There are high costs with doing this event. The way I dream of having it happen so that everyone is happy and protected from the sun and not having to wait in line for toilets. So your grant money comes in with being able to provide a large tent to protect people from the sun. There's a lot of shade out there at Gaston Wildlife Club, so it's not required. If we don't get the grant, it's fine. We don't need the tent. Toilet facility, I don't want to use the porta-johns because you're going to have a lot of wet people coming in wanting to change out of their wet clothes into dry clothes. Nobody wants to do that in a porta-john, so we're getting the local restroom trailer facility we're renting a trailer from them. With the grant funds, we're able to rent 2 trailers. Without the grant funds, I have to limit it to 1 trailer, which is 3 stalls. So with the crowd that we're going to have out there, it'd be great to have 2 trailers. But if we have to get by with 1, we can get by with 1. So the answer to that is no, we're not dependent, because there are things that I can change where we're not, perfectly set up out there, but we can successfully do this event. And then if approved, obviously y'all would get the platinum sponsor level, and what that includes is y'all would basically be front and center of the banners, the postcards. I actually brought some of the postcards with me so y'all can see what's printed out right now. I had to do an early printing of the postcards because I've already started my race season, and I hand these postcards out at every race that I do as far as advertising it. So the sponsors that I've got so far are on the back of that postcard, and then I've got 1,000 printed. I do have to go back for more printing because I will go through this 1,000 rather quick. All these postcards will be given to the sponsors for them to put out at their facility as well for advertising. So platinum sponsors, you'll see Anchored Soul is the only platinum sponsor so far, but you'd have the large logo on every bit of advertising, the banners, the posters, the social media, and then obviously out there the day of the event. Platinum sponsors will be all over. The trash cans that I'm having are going to be the printed cardboard trash cans. So platinum sponsors will be on those trash cans that are going to be everywhere throughout the event. So the recognition is there. Also, you get free race entries. So if you know anyone with the city of Belmont who wants to do, even if it's the 1 mile fun run, the free race entries, and then the free event tickets as well. So it's a lot. It doesn't measure up to what the grant could potentially be, but, and there's obviously more that can be done. But I think that's it. If y'all have any questions, I can answer.
It's a rain or shine event?
Rain or shine. We paddle. We're going to get wet on the water, so yeah, we're ready to paddle in the rain. The only thing is if there's lightning, we do have to delay start based on lightning. So that's the only thing that might change.
Never seen a paddleboard race, so tell me distance, circular
Okay.
course.
So there are various options. This race will include, there's a 1 mile, a 3.5 mile, and a 7 mile. Pros, obviously the ones who get out there and race all the time. A lot of your SCP series racers will be in the 7 mile. 3.5 mile is great for those who have been out on a board, and it's not just paddleboard. This race is actually open up to, there's going to be 66 divisions total. There's outrigger canoes, there's stand-up paddleboards, kayaks, fast kayaks, high-speed kayaks. There's so many different paddle crafts out there. Even canoes will be out there. Surf skis will be out there. So like I said, there's 66 divisions times 3 for the awards. So that's how many awards I end up having to get. And so the 1 mile is great for those who are just learning the sport of paddling and want to get out there and be a part of the event and have fun. So that's why we call it the 1 mile fun run, is because that's all it is. It's really fun. Plus you're still getting that 1 mile of exercise. Those who have been paddling for a while and they don't think the 1 mile is going to get them the kick that they want, then they can push it up to the 3.5 mile. And then the 7 mile. So what I tell people, I have a lot that want to try and challenge themselves, people that I've taught, and they want to do the 3.5 mile, but they're concerned about coming in last. So I explain to them, you don't have to worry about that because the 7 milers will be behind you. And as long as you do the last 7 miler, you're going to be fine. So they're like, okay, we'll do the 3.5 mile. So it's a really fun event. The paddle community is great. That's one of the reasons why I try to connect Anchored Soul with building self-esteem. That's the other thing. Since I started Anchored Soul, I not only work with youth, but I've started having clients come out who have lost their sense of self-esteem for whatever reason. And a lot of people look at stand-up paddleboarding as a sport that is difficult to do. It's really not. A lot of people get set up for thinking that way because they might have been to a place where they were told it's difficult. It's not. If you have the right board for your body type and you have the person to tell you the correct way to do it on your first time so you can be successful, anybody can do it. And so just rebuilding that self-esteem in people when they actually get up and do something that they think they could never do, watching that, it's real. I love it. That's the thrill that I get.
So this will be an annual event?
It will be.
Successful?
Yes, yep. When I started planning it, I knew what I was getting myself into, but I have to tell you, getting the sponsors and the donations has been, when you were talking about getting sponsors for your event, I'm like, woo! It's fun, but it is time consuming. So,
The $17,870 is fees? Is that what?
so the total income, that includes the sponsors, that includes the registration costs for the race, and that includes the event costs for those who come out to the concert, spectate, and enjoy the food and beverages. So the tickets, you can see all the way in that left-hand column. The tickets are $10 for kids and $20 for adults. And then for the 1 mile registration, it's $45. For the 3.5 mile, it's $60. And for the 7 mile, it's $70. I did just yesterday make the decision that I'm not going to bump up the rates on June 20th. The reason I was originally doing that is because the later it gets, the more of a guess I'm going to have to make on race medals and t-shirts and the things that I really need to have for each racer. I'm having to guess what I need. So I bumped up the cost just to help cover if I had extra. But I decided it's not necessary, so I removed that bumping up of the cost because I'm also required, I'm trying to get the race into next year's Southern Stoke Paddle Series, which is another even bigger series. And in order to be a race in the Southern Stoke Series, your max cap for a race registration cost is $70. So I'm leaving it at the original registration cost and not bumping it up.
Any other questions from the board?
No, I don't think so.
And you would obviously like a decision from us as soon as possible, but
Yeah, but like I said, it's not dependent on y'all, so don't feel rushed by any means.
okay. And I assume fulfilling a partial amount of that $10,000 request is
That would
factors
be
in
great,
this.
but again, the sponsors so far, as far as what I've done, what I've had to pay deposits on, the only thing I have had to take out of pocket was the original deposit to book the band, because I wanted that band booked before I even started going out to get sponsors. But now that I've got sponsors, I've already reimbursed what I spent out of pocket, and I've got enough funds from the sponsorships to take care of the cost thus far. I think the real cost, when I'm gonna be beyond what I get from the sponsors, will probably start hitting in July.
What's the band? Who's the band?
Kids in America 80s Tribute Band. It's a local Charlotte band. They keep the crowd very energized because they dress the part of the 80s and they're just jumping around. They're very, very lively and energetic, and they're very popular, especially I like to gear things to my age and beyond as far as generations, because, you know, once you hit your third, once you start with a family, you kind of start dropping out of the fun world a little bit, and so I figure 80s is the best genre. You can't beat the 80s. So I think everybody's gonna love that.
What kind of estimate, I'm sorry, Rich.
I may have missed this. Where on the Catawba is this taking place?
So it starts at the Gaston Wildlife Club. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, down at the end on the point?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll start at the Gaston Wildlife Club. That's one of the other things that I did when I came up with the course route. 3.5 miles one way actually came right behind Anchored Soul's location, which is my property. So it worked out perfect because we're starting at Gaston Wildlife Club, and then they wrap around, go under the bridge, and go behind Anchored Soul. Then they round that buoy and come back, and that is the full 7 miles. So the 7 mile racers will go to Anchored Soul and come back. It follows the shoreline. It does not cross any main paths of water because I do not want to be in boat's way at any point throughout this race. I don't want to have to stop traffic, none of that. We're following the shoreline. There will be enough volunteer boats out there to make sure that everyone is doing what they need to do. And if the boats don't want to slow down, they don't have to slow down.
So where will the band and the food and everything be?
At the Gaston Wildlife
At
Club.
the-
Yep.
Let me ask you, I mean, I guess you've seen similar events like this, I have not. What kind of crowd do you anticipate?
There's gonna be a minimum of 200 people out there. It can go, I'm hoping to cap it off around 300 because I don't know that I'm mentally prepared for more than that, but if it ends up being more than that, we'll see how prepared I was once it happens. I mean, everybody says I sound like I have my ducks in a row. I started planning this in January. I'm very OCD. I want to be on the water racing. I don't want to be stuck on land trying to make sure everything's being taken care of. So it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to make sure I keep my ducks in a row, because if I don't, I can't go on the board. I have to stay on land and, keep handling things. So hopefully, it stays around the 300 mark, but if it goes higher, Gaston Wildlife Club said they can handle it. And we are not using inside their facility. We are strictly staying outside. That was one of the things I agreed to, is we do not need to go inside, so we're not going to use their inside facility, because we will overwhelm their septic tank if anyone uses their restroom.
How many participants, how many competitors do you expect?
So I've got that predicted to be total 1, 3.5, and 7 mile racers. Minimum of 116. That is a low number. I've had a lot of interest from clients that I've taught to stand-up paddleboard thus far here in Belmont who are already registering, which is very exciting for me, because I feel like, I've just sparked something. I'm fulfilling one of my purposes, I'm introducing clients to a new world of racing, a new sport, something. Because when you finish that, it gives you a great feeling like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. So, yeah. I think the number of 116 is definitely a minimum, because the number of locals who are interested are showing their faces already.
Well, it sure fits into the active lifestyle image that we want to project for Belmont.
Yes.
So,
Belmont's got it
kudos
all
on
as
that.
far as, offering a lifestyle for anyone, no matter what your lifestyle is. And I don't think that, they're going in that direction for sure over the last year or so, but I don't think the outdoors was projected as well as it could be, because Belmont is gorgeous. You've got the water access, and the water access just wasn't, it wasn't pushed as much as it could be, so.
Is parking going to be an issue at all? I don't know what that parking looks like down
Originally I
there.
thought it would be, so I can actually show you a map that I drew out, because I had to do this for the ABC permit. Originally I thought parking was going to be a huge issue. So this is a map here. You're coming down South Point Road. This is where you run in. You come through the gate here, and this is where you run into the facility. So they said what they do for their classic car shows and everything as far as parking, you've got all the parking here by their facility, but what they do beyond that is they park angle parking. So imagine the road, grass on this side, grass on this side. They angle cars in along their grass line all the way back to their gate. They said they get up to 300 cars parked down there. And then also I had talked to, I don't remember, I think it was the Duke Energy person with, I talked to whoever I needed to talk to make sure that we could use the Duke Energy launch.
Okay.
Because trailers, anyone who's coming with a trailer full of, y'all probably have never seen an outrigger canoe or a surf ski. We're talking 24-foot paddle crafts.
Wow.
Those things are huge. So people have to transport those with trailers. Those will not be able to come in and park at Gaston Wildlife Club because it's not practical. So they have to park at Duke Energy Boat Launch. They approved that. They said that's fine. It's just like somebody coming out there and using the public launch. They said it's perfectly fine. There won't be that many trailers of those. I mean, there's going to be a lot of outrigger canoes out there on the water. The 24-foot is like the maximum length that they have in those. There are smaller.
So you see spectators being able to park close to the
Yes.
the wildlife club, not having to park like over.
They're going to have to park along the grass line,
Yeah.
no doubt. They will be inside the gate. Once you get to Gaston Wildlife Club, they will be inside the gate. They will not be up against the building. They will have to walk that little road once you're inside the security gate there. They have a lot of members that live down there who have golf carts, and the president of the board said that he can make sure someone has a golf cart available for whoever wants to volunteer to go and help. And I told them, make sure that we're not helping anyone and everyone get down by golf cart. It needs to be for those who have physical handicap or elderly who just have a difficult time walking.
Okay.
Because otherwise your golf cart is not going to be free to be used where it's needed. It's going to be overwhelmed with everyone else.
How far is that from here, the wildlife club?
It's at the very end. I don't know how often you go down South Point Road.
I don't.
Never, okay. So Allen Steam Station, are you familiar with Allen Steam Station, that Duke Energy coal-fired plant? If you go 1.5 miles beyond Allen Steam Station, it's right there. So from here, it's 13 minutes, because I live down there and it took me 11 minutes to get here.
Okay.
It's just beyond Reflection Point, if you know where Reflection Point is.
Yeah, that's a neighborhood.
So you live in the wildlife, you say?
No, I live in Lake Mist.
Oh.
Right, I live at the discharge of Allen Steam Station. Hot water. Very
Free hot water.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank y'all for having
Thank you
me.
very much.
Well, I won't stick around and listen to all y'all's other professional business. I will go ahead and head out and get some other work done.
And I assume the board wants to mull this over and complete the budget and consider it at our next meeting?
It's fine.
Okay. Great. And we'll continue, since we're on grants, I did want to report on the Crappy USA tournament that we supported through a grant. The event was held on March 1st and 2nd. It was promoted as a Belmont event. There was a pre-event seminar that was conducted on the 1st at Riverman Brewing. Not sure how many people attended that, and their website did promote the Hampton Inn as the host hotel. Brandon Black at the Tourism Authority said he believes they had, just looking at the registrations and where they came from, that they had 93 hotel rooms that were probably sold somewhere. They were not required to use the Hampton Inn, so nowhere to
Yeah,
tell.
we didn't have anything.
Yeah. They think they probably went to some of the hotels on the boulevard, maybe. So,
Which event was this?
this was the Crappy USA.
Oh, the fishing?
Fishing
Okay.
tournament. So, they did do their best efforts to promote Belmont as we requested. So,
Do we feel like it was a success for us?
I don't know. For Riverman, it was. I don't believe.
Yeah,
got
no, we
anything.
didn't get
Got
anything.
I think the
As
rate's
far as
too high.
hotel, we
Yeah.
didn't get anything.
So, good for Riverman Brewing. Did we see any people at other restaurants downtown? Maybe.
Okay. How much did we grant them? I can't remember. What?
Was it more than that?
Yeah, no, it wasn't much.
Yeah. But I did want to report on that. And if we would now go back to number 4 on the financial report. If you would review that. I have a question. If you look at total expenses, on the page 9, it says $163,000.
But it doesn't add up.
Well, that doesn't add up right.
There must be some hidden on here.
Yeah. So, so if you look at page 5 of your packet, we have expenses of $78,398, and expenses a little bit more than that. But remember that our revenue is about a month behind our
Right.
expenses. So, can't add that quickly, so it appears that we were within, that our expenses are in line with our revenue. And you guys are having a really good year, so congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Any questions on the financial report?
No.
Other business, timeline on the Home 2 suites, Home 2 projects are late last year, or late next year, late
Right.
2020.
Yeah, their construction plans were submitted, so they're under review now.
Okay.
And talking to the architect, the project coordinator, they said they're targeting August of 2020.
Great. So it will be the end of next year then. The end of 2020. So. Any other business to come before the board?
Well, since if we go ahead and grant them the paddleboard thing, we get one free entry, I think. You need to decide which one of us is going to be on that paddleboard.
Not it.
I recommend that you do that.
I've got a bad wheel right now.
So you going to do that?
I'll do that. Well, I'll take it under advisement.
So, any other business to come before the board? Great. We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Cut off the microphones now.
Oh,
So
good.
now you want to say something? Now what do you really want to say?
Well, for her grant, I was actually, my wheels are turning. I think it's a great
Yeah, I do too.
opportunity.
idea.
I love the idea, and that's why I asked how far it was, because I'm thinking, like, if for some reason there wasn't enough parking, if